Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade J52, and I am joined by some of my merry cohorts. This week we have with us, directly off to my immediate right, the resident wolf of the Timber Clan.
How's it going, guys? Gotta say, I'm loving this Section 31 Wrath of Khan uniform I got. Makes me very spy-like. It's Artie's fault.
Oh, Lord. And here comes the James Bonding. Then, directly across from me, we have our Grand Admiral Thrawn, aka Neela of the Titan.
We will pull the rebels apart, piece by piece. They will be the architects of their own destruction.
And then, barely able to hold it together without laughing over there, we have the RP hologram, Artie.
I can't hold it together. This is insane.
This is what you asked for.
But, anyways, folks, there are a couple of announcements we need to get through first and foremost, and whatnot, everything. There's been some shakeup in the Pilot Review family, of course. Teacher Kirby is no longer going to be a part of the show with us and everything. We thank Kirby for all the good that she's done for us and everything, and we wish her nothing but the best and everything. But moving forward, there's going to be some other changes made to the show and whatnot as we move towards a newer format, hopefully one that should be more efficient for you guys, while still getting you all the information that you're used to getting from us and whatnot. But look forward to getting going with that stuff. But anyways, on to our regularly scheduled programming this week. First and foremost, we have the patch notes from the 30th. Not the greatest amount of notes here. There are some things to get through. Resolved an issue which was causing a large performance issue in the character creator and the tailor. Now, this is one that some people had been talking about for a while. They'd seen massive performance drops and everything in this area. They should hopefully have addressed that. Different animations added for when player and humanoid enemies are defeated in combat. They fixed the automated defense turret exploit in the Crystalline Catastrophe. Then a couple of things in the systems area resolved some registry issues with the T5U Avenger and the Peregrine Fighter. Resolved issue that caused indirect shielding and oblique shielding personal traits to decrease the resistances when the shields went offline. Added duty officer interact on the Bajoran Bridge, the Jem'Hadar shuttle, removed the DOF contact, and added some ambient audio. We have some duty officer contacts added to the Jem'Hadar attack ship bridge. Resolved issue where the Resolutes nacelles would float when using the Cannon Excelsior pylons. Then added for character art, the Jem'Hadar captains can now wear all counter-command armor pieces if they've unlocked it, as well as the Sphere Builder uniform. Head covering will not be available for that one, and can now wear the Lucari helmet. So, pretty decent set of notes there. Thoughts from you guys?
I'll be honest, I thought the whole Resolute nacelles kind of not attaching to the ship was kind of funny, because it kind of reminded me as, oh, is this the design of got us to the Enterprise J? No, I only kid, but no, that's a very good visual fix.
Yep.
The Curry helmet for the win. Yes, please.
And anything from our resident wolf of the timber?
Not really. I'm just mainly waiting for when we're going to get the Age of Discovery. I think they're just going to kind of keep it light until then, unless something really bad breaks.
Yeah, they love to tease us.
You mean when we break it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And everything for everybody out there, I promise I won't set the server on fire. Too bad. Okay, who am I kidding? Prepare for a warp core breach. And everything. But no, in seriousness, we will be, as it becomes available, we'll be testing it. Hopefully we can get them some good info to prevent any major bugs and issues, so they don't get to you guys and everything. But anyways, moving along, we have our Zen charge bonus for the PC.
Yep. As most people may know, for the PC, you get a time where you can buy the amount of Zen that you want to just go get whatever you want from the C-store. And then, due to this special bonus, you get a little bit extra. So, from August 30th, so currently, to September 4th, you get just a little bit extra Zen whenever you purchase any Zen from any of the following payment processors, which would be, any direct card, Visa, MasterCard, that sort of stuff, PayPal, Skrill, Boa Compra, Exolia, PaySafeCard, and Steam. You would get the same. You would get any sort of charge bonus from that. A little further down, you would see what you would get for each bonus per whatever you would pay. The $10 you get 15, $20 would be 20%, $50 would be 20%, and then 100 you get 25, which is a really good deal, to be honest, because that's a lot of Zen already. And now do you get a little bit? Do you get 25% more? Come on! And then 200, 25% more, because you can't go for anything like 150. I don't think. So it's a good deal to go with it. But that's simply it. You get your Zen. Now you get a little bit extra during this very short time. Questions?
No, I think that about covers it. To put that into perspective really quickly, if you buy the $200 option, you normally get a 3,000 Zen bonus, and these bonuses are cumulative. So you will get the normal 3,000 bonus and the additional 25%. So if you bought $200 worth of Zen, as a hypothetical, you're going to come out with approximately $280 worth of Zen. So it is very well worth it.
There you go.
But anyways, moving right along, we have our 20% ship sale for the PS4 and PC. That should be you, Neela.
I didn't know if Timber was taking it.
Or Timber.
No, I'll take it.
Either or.
Fight for it.
So, I'll take it. So pretty much for the same time you got your C-Store's Zen bonus. Sorry, eating sandwich. You've also got a 20% sale for PS4 and PC. Sorry, Xbox, but you kind of get forgotten sometimes. And they're saying
Xbox, they do it a different way.
Yeah, they do it a different way.
Yeah, they do it through the Microsoft Store.
Yeah. But it's going to be 20% off of all ships and all dry dock slots. So maybe it's not getting a new ship. Maybe you're trying to make room at the moment because you're, thinking the next lockbox is coming out soon. That's at least my thought process on the current math. You should have a new lockbox within the next month-ish. You're trying to make room for it. Your dry dock slots are also on sale. It includes bundles that are only ships, so if there's a ship bundle, a 3-pack you're after, that's on sale as well. Your fleet modules are 20% off. The upgrade tokens are 20% off, so pretty much whether it's a T5 or a T6, it's a good sale. And there are a lot of good options in the C-Store, and it doesn't look like there's any restrictions, so this should also be on the Lafayette, the brand new recon destroyer that just came out. So if you're wanting that brand new ship, it's got a sale on it. You get a Zen bonus this week. Now would be the time to grab it if you're ever going to get it.
Oh yeah. One thing I would mention, and this is something that myself and a couple of other folks found out the fun way, is if you are currently buying the 4 packs of fleet ship modules, while this sale is going on, you will currently get a 5th fleet ship module in addition to the normal 4 and in addition to the discounted price. So not only are you paying less, but you're also getting more modules if you buy the 4-pack.
That's outrageously awesome.
Yes, yes it is. They shall, upon their passing, end up in Stovokor, because it is very honorable.
Yeah, pretty much. If you want a ship now, you want dry dock slots, you're planning ahead, or you're just running out of space right now, this is the weekend to do it. You're not going to... These kind of weekends where they double up on Zen and ship sales or Zen and key sales, they don't happen too often during the year where they're at the exact same time. So whenever this does happen, you do want to take advantage of it if you do have the option to do so.
Yep. Anyways, that's what we have for our articles this evening. Whatnot. There's not a lot that went down this week and everything, but this does bring us to our budget build section. Now, speaking of the Lafayette, you saw us last week a little bit. We showed some of the stuff with the Lafayette. We talked about some of the stats and everything going on. And one of the big complaints that I noticed a lot of people saying is that it's a really squishy ship. So I figured, what better ship at this point to take and make a tank out of? And everything. This is something for my tanks out there that may not be as, I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Or maybe a little leery about trying to do anything with this ship. And it's actually got a pretty good base to work with. Now this evening is a bare bones budget. We always assume for a bare bones budget a maximum of 2 million EC spending limit. Everything else has to be free or as cheap as possible. Now, one thing I will note about the builder is you actually do get a heavy weapon slot on this ship. It doesn't show it in the builder, so that is one thing to be aware of for everybody else out there and everything. It comes with the standard ion stream projector that you can get for free, so no special heavy weapon in this case and everything. But it is one thing to keep in mind. But for our forward weapons, we have the advanced piezo polaron beam. We have the chronometric beam array. We have a Dominion polaron beam, and then we have our morphogenic polaron energy torpedo, and they finally have the morphogenic stuff in the builder, folks. So, yay! Fun stuff. Then for our rear weapons, we have 2 standard polaron beams, and then the morphogenic omni turret. Now, one thing I would make note of here is you actually cannot use the morphogenic and the chronometric omni at the same time. They're both considered mission rewards, so that is one thing to be aware of. Then, for our shields or engines, our deflector and warp core, and everything, to kind of give the ship more defensive value, to give more damage negation, we have the Soul Defense set. This is a personal favorite of mine. It's also a very great budget set to use for tanks. Now, what makes this set so special is some of the nice bonuses that it gives from the impulse engine, the shield itself, but just by having 2 of the items on the ship, you get the free equivalent of a neutronium armor's worth of resistance without actually having to slot a neutronium. So basically a free neutronium is what it gives you. Then for the 3 set, you get a massive heal whenever you need it, and depending on what health level you're at, can actually bring your ship from dead almost, if not all the way back to full. Now, the one downside to this set is it doesn't come with a warp core, so you have to source one out. Personal favorite of ours here on the show is the temporal phase overcharged core that basically gives you a temporal negotiator in the form of a warp core capacitor. So that's going to cut your bridge officer cooldowns in half at a pinch whenever you need it. Everything that is something very useful there. Then we'll take a look at some of the set bonuses and everything in just a minute or two here, because there are some set bonuses that we're going to call upon, as well as some special piloting techniques that you'll need to be aware of and everything with this ship. Now, you have 3 device slots. We always usually think of them as personal preference. However, in this case, there is a couple of devices we're going to recommend that you consider, one in particular to the build, because of the nature of this ship itself. Now, one we usually like to recommend is the subspace field modulator, which basically gives slightly better than a neutronium alloy armor's worth of resistances while it's active. Now, it does debuff you for a minus 400 protonic damage resist rating, so that is something to be aware of. There's not that many enemies in game that use it, but it is something to kind of keep an eye on. Then the one device we're actually going to recommend, and I included the system that you get it from in the notes for you guys, is the deuterium surplus. This is going to be a very nice device to use with this ship. And everything gives some flight speed, maneuverability, as well as a pretty hefty defense bonus whenever you need it. Then for our console layout, for this version of the ship, since it's the standard C-Store version, you have 2 engineering consoles, 4 science consoles, and 5 tactical. Whenever you get the fleet version of the ship, I believe this will get another engineering, if I'm not mistaken.
Tactical.
Or another tactical. So apparently the guy listed this wrong then, but so that would make it 6 tacticals. Yeah, he's got this listed wrong. So slight error in the builder here, but
yeah, it ends up with 2 engineer, 4 science, 5 tactical, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So yeah. Then yeah, just grab the regular. So anyway, that's something that they'll have to sort out with the builder and whatnot. But as far as the engineering consoles go and everything, we decided to actually keep the console that comes with the ship and everything, which is the hyper-focusing trinary arrays. Now, the reason we kept that is because of the very nice bonuses that it gives passively, as well as the weapon itself. We'll take a look at that in just a minute and everything, because there is some specialty piloting advice that we want to give with that console. Now, the other things that we have which give our normal bonuses, we have our Trillium deplating. This is from the Ragnarok mission. This is going to give a nice boost to your damage resistance and a nice boost to your shield capacity. And it's basically a field generator and a neutronium armor slammed into one console. So that is something nice to have. Then, in our science consoles, we have the piezoelectric focuser from the Lucari rep, which is basically a Polaron tactical console, as well as giving some boosts. I believe this one gave a slight boost to turn rate and shield capacity, if I'm not mistaken, without looking. Then, you also have your temporal disentanglement suite. This is a nice console from the Butterfly mission. It'll give a nice boost to your critical chance and severity based on your aux power. It'll also give a nice boost to your shield capacity, in addition to also giving a little bit of shield damage resistance. Then we have our assimilated module. This is going to give a nice boost to your critical chance and severity, as well as giving a bit of control expertise. Then, because we're running Polaron, we have one of our restorative particle focusers from the Crenum Science Lab. This is the Drain X ×2 variety, which is going to buff the drain on our Polarons by a pretty fair amount. For our tactical consoles, we have the Morphogenic Matrix Controller. This is one of the ones from the Morphogenic set. This is gives some pretty decent bonuses. We'll take a look at the 2 and 3 sets and explain why they're so useful in just a minute. Then we also have our chronometric capacitor, which will go along with our chronometric beam array, so you'll have at least the 2 set you can draw from there. And these are very good tactical consoles on the cheap. Then for the remaining tactical console slots, you would have the directed energy distribution manifolds. There's not currently a mission in the game that gives Polarons exclusively that we can actually count on whenever we need it, but in the meantime we're using these as a stopgap measure, I guess you could say. Now we're going to take a quick look at our set bonuses and everything, because these are very integral, very well integrated into the build and very important to the build, so I want to take a brief look at these. Now, I actually have some of these sitting on the ship. I'm trying to kit out my own version of the ship somewhat. For your morphogenic set, we'll start with that because that's arguably the most important set that you're going to have on the ship. And your 2 set bonus is going to give a straight recharge time reduction to your pretty much any of your tactical enhancements, to your torps, to your beams, to your cannons, to your mines. It's a 15% recharge time reduction. Then your 3-piece, this is where it's going to come in handy and everything. It's a you gain a unique buff that stacks up to 3 times, lasting up to 45 seconds. Subsequent procs will refresh it. If you activate Fire at Will or Beam Overload, you get a 2% critical chance boost up to a maximum of 6%. If you activate Scatter Volley or Rapid Fire, you get 10% critical severity up to a maximum of 30%. If you activate Torp Spread, High Yield, Mine Alpha, or Mine Beta, you get 7.5% Cat 1 weapon damage up to a maximum of 22.5%. And everything. So, basically on this set and everything, you want to, if you can, try to keep those rotating and whatnot. And you can take advantage of all 3 of those as far as buffs. And I know Timber likes to use that as much as I do whenever he and I run Polaron builds.
And with this set, it makes up for not having certain things that you would get later on at the high end, and then it just overstacks them at the high end. I mean, 6% crit chance. Once you get all 6%, it's refresh. So you can keep 6% on there. Well, that's equivalent to the crit chance bonuses of 3 Mark 15 locators. Because Mark 15 epic locators are 2% each. So yeah, it takes you a little bit in battle to get there, but once you've got it and you keep it going, in long-term combat, that's a sizable boost. Same with the crit severity. That's equal to about 3 exploiters, roughly. Maybe a little bit more than 3 exploiters on the crit severity at Mark 15. I mean, those are sizable chunks if you can have all 3 bonuses going, even though the weapon damage is a category 1. A huge damage increase when you're running Polaron. It's a must-have.
Absolutely. But that's what we have for our morphogenic set and everything. Our chronometric set, it gives some pretty nice... Let's see, do I have the thing on me? I thought I had it on me somewhere.
I remember the 2-piece for chronometric is aux power and, what was it, max aux power?
Yep, so it's a decent little bonus and everything, something to be aware of. But the big thing we wanted to touch base on really quickly, and then we'll move into the actual gear and everything, or the skills and everything itself, is our universal console itself. I keep wanting to say tactical console, but and that is our hyper-focusing trinary arrays. You guys might be able to see that on the screen. It gives a 47.5 shield hardness and shield penetration buff. And then you can see the on use, which is basically a Death Star laser like we demonstrated last week. It's a radiation weapon up to 3 times a second and up to a minus 75 all damage resist rating for 10 seconds. Now, however, it does slow you down speed-wise and turn rate-wise. But, yeah, I know you and I were discussing very briefly and everything about the shield hardness and the shield pen and everything on this Timber, and when you would actually want to use this console and everything, and I think you can explain that just a little bit better than
well, the passives are always nice, because the shield pen, if you're doing your the math, as we did the math, it's almost equivalent to 1 point in shield pen in your skill tree, 40, because the first point is 50. So you're getting about just shy of 1 skill tree point of shield pen, which is not bad off of a console. Big thing with this console, the activation, the biggest, if you're going for damage output, I'm just going to put it flat out, if you're doing a DPS run, you're probably going to want to save this console towards the end of your run. Whether, a lot of people still use ISA. I know the really high-end players, they use HSC because it's just more hit point potential, a bit more of a challenge. ISA is really not that much of a challenge for the high-end. But I'm going to use ISA for an example. If you're using it in there, you're going to want to wait until you're at the gate and the tactical cube, and then target it on one of those, probably when they're at like 50% or less, because you don't want it to burn too early. But if you wait at the right time at like 50 to 60% health of that target, that debuff's going to grow as you're starting to stack up all your tactical abilities and everything. So by the time you're at your maximum damage potential, you've got everything going, you've got anywhere from a minus 50 to a minus 75 on that target. And if you park just right, since this is a forward firing cannon Death Star laser, you can park sideways on your target if you're a broadsider, or park right in their flank as a cannon or dual beam bank user, and you're hitting them with everything you've got plus a huge debuff. And that would really speed up that run. The only thing I don't know yet, because I haven't had a chance for me and Darkblade to do the same run together, is if these are stacking or not. If they're stacking, I can see some devastating results. If the debuffs are stacking, and if they don't,
fire when ready.
And if they don't stack, then you would want in a pre-made environment. You can't guarantee this in a pug run, but in a pre-made environment, you'd have at least one fire on the gate and then one fire also on the tack queue to debuff both at the same time. But if you're using it too early in a run, you can't guarantee the cooldown's going to be ready for that final damage spike. So I've been typically only using it at the very end, just when I've got the right amount of damage that I'm about to boost up, and then use it. Or if you're just in prolonged runs, use it as long. If you're in one of those elites and it's taking you forever to get through, you're just in there with fleet mates, you're having a good time, or hell, I used it once on Undine Assault Advanced. That thing just about, with the right damage boost, annihilated that final boss. But you're going to have to get the right positioning right before you activate it. You want to make for sure you've got everything that you can facing your target, so you're not really having to worry about any kind of movement once you activate it, because it's pretty much locking you in a straight line. That turn rate, especially that turn rate bonus, debuff, is no joke. So before you fire that off, line up your shot the way you exactly want to do it to maximize that particular console and all your other abilities, because you're not going to get any kind of option to move the way you want to when it's active.
But anyways, I know that's a lot to digest at once and everything for people out there. That is something to be aware of and everything, but like we're saying, this is a very important console to this build. And that's why I had Timber go into as much depth as he did, because it is something that you're probably not going to get a second chance at and everything if something goes haywire the first time. But anyways, continuing on with our budget build and whatnot, so let's go to our skills. Now our skills and everything, it's the standard build we've been using whatnot for a while. 14 engineering points, 14 science, 18 tactical. Now, I'm not going to go into a very detailed explanation on this. We'll have a video for you guys that we're going to link at about this time once the local recording goes up, and that'll be for those of you that want the more technical explanation without me having to talk myself into a sore throat here and everything. I'll mouse over this really quickly for you guys. You can see our lieutenant commander points, commander points, our captain level points, and our admiral points. And one thing I would mention that you guys do have as an option, I actually did the math today and I didn't have a chance to tell Timber this yet, but that console is worth an additional almost 9, almost 10% shield hardness to you, just by having that on the ships. That's equivalent almost to an additional point of shield hardness that you get in your skill tree. And then if you don't normally use hull pin, you could actually justify a shield penetration build if you're using this console. So that is something to be aware of. But anyways, moving along, for our specializations, we have the Intel Primary, Miracle Worker Secondary in this case. This is going to give some nice threat gen bonuses as well as damage output and some survivability to the ship, since one of the chief complaints with the vessel is that she is a bit squish. Then for our traits, we'll look at those really fast, then we'll take a look at our bridge officers, and yeah. For our traits, we have first and foremost Accurate. For our personal space traits, that's going to increase the accuracy of our weapons a little bit. That's going to offset some of that penalty to thaw and other firing modes. Then we have Beam Barrage and Beam Training, respectively. We always like to assume you've leveled at least one of your R&D crafting schools, and in this case you've chosen beams, is our assumption. Then we have Elusive for free defensive value, Fleet Coordinator for free damage based on how many people are in the party, a minimum of 2% up to a maximum of 10%. Then we have your career-specific trait of Grace Under Fire. Now, we use this one because the builder itself actually defaults to an engineering-type character. If you're not an engineer, but you would still like to use the build, simply swap in your own career-specific trait, and you are good to go. Then we have the Nanite Repair Matrix from the Midnight Mission, as well as the Point Blank Shot, which is going to be a damage increase the closer you are to a target up to a certain maximum. And then we have our projectile training to somewhat boost our energy torpedo a little bit. Then for starship traits, this is one of the builds where we're actually able to max out all 4 of our slots that we're going to have. And we have the Jubilant Cadence, which actually comes with the ship. And then I'll actually boop into the game right fast, and you guys can see the actual numbers and everything for those of you that are curious. It's a 5% flight speed and turn rate to self, stacking up to 5 times with no maximum duration. After you get 5 stacks, it removes all of them from you and applies the Jubilant Cadence to the team, including yourself. It is a 25% flight speed and turn rate bonus for 10 seconds, as well as a Bridge Officer ability reduction of 10%. So that is some stuff to be very, very aware of with this trait. The next traits we have are the Best Defense from the House Peg. This adds a hull healing buff along with the normal effects of your chosen attack pattern. We have the Honored Dead, which is a nice damage reduction power that you could pick up as a starship trait. This is very cheap if you're a Federation character, otherwise it's going to be very pricey if you're a KDF or KDF aligned, as it will require you to get the Sarcophagus. And finally we have the Going the Extra Mile, everything from the Miracle Worker tree, which is going to buff some of our healing powers. Space reputations, we have Precision for free critical hit chance, the Advanced Target Systems for free crit severity, the Aux Power Offense for a boost to damage based on Aux Power. Then finally we have our Magnified Firepower for a static 5% Cat 2 boost in damage. Very, very potent from our Gamma Rep. For active reputations, we have Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity, which is a nice AoE physical damage debuff to the enemy. I can't words today. This will also slow them down and do a fair chunk of damage. Biomolecular Shield, which is the little green shield ball in space, reduces damage to your shields and anybody inside it by a fairly significant margin, as well as providing a bit of shield healing. Deploy Sensor Interference Platform as an "oh crap, I'm gonna die" button. This will taunt enemies to itself until it is either destroyed or time runs out, whichever happens first. Then finally, Quantum Singularity Manipulation from the Romulan Rep. This increases science stats by plus 100 for the duration, in addition to applying a temporary cloaking effect. And this is going to give you a fairly significant boost to any science powers. A good use of this is fire off any exotic type abilities first, hit your Quantum Singularity Manipulation, toss out a Grav Well, and then follow with Anti-Time Entanglement, and you'll get a pretty good bit of bang for your buck. Then moving to our Bridge Officers, and then we'll get some thoughts from the panel here. For this particular ship, you have Lieutenant Commander Universal / Intel, Commander TAC, Ensign TAC, Lieutenant Engineer, and Lieutenant Commander Psi. For our Commander Tactical, we have a TAC Team 1, a Rapid Fire 1, a Beam Fire at Will 3, an Attack Pattern Delta 3, and then in the Ensign TAC we have a Torpedo Spread 1. For our Lieutenant Commander Science, we have a Hazard Emitters for the Heal Over Time effect, purges Borg Plasma Fires, Psi Team, which is going to heal our shields a little bit, purge some nucleonic-based effects, and then we have our Gravity Well, just for a little bit of control. Then, for our Lieutenant Engineer, we have a engineering team and a reverse shield polarity. Both of those are going to be pretty potent heals in a pinch. Then for a Lieutenant Commander Universal / Intel, we actually made this a engineering seat. And we have an emergency to Engines 1, an emergency to Weapons 2, and an OSS 3, which is going to give us some pretty good power. We can use the emergency to Weapons to get a nice boost to our engine, boost to our weapons, as well as the weapon damage for a short time. And then our engines we can use as a nice little get out of dodge power whenever we need to. But, yeah, thoughts from the panel before we look at our final costs for the build.
Does it look pretty?
I think it does, but I'm
Same.
kind of biased.
Okay. My questions are over. What do you guys think?
Quite honestly, I would have built it a little bit different. Because, well, you're more of the tank, I'm more of the DPS. Honestly, I would have done cannons on it. It's how I reviewed the ship on my channel was cannons. With Polarons, I would have gone with the Dominion Polarons cannons, the duels. And the one good reason for that is the turrets. I can have both the chronometric and the morphogenic turret. Because from what I've seen, there's no lockouts on turrets, only on omnibeams. So I can have both of those set bonuses if I wanted them. That'd be the big change. Other than that, it's pretty solid. What you're trying to do. I just like having Skittle shooters.
Yeah, that would be something he would like, because, you know, you're weird.
Which, since we talked about, we don't have one thing on there. It's kind of hard to pick a heavy weapon, mainly because the heavy weapon that's given to you, it kind of is sucky. So,
yeah, it's not exactly.
well, the ion stream cannon, I think they just made that as a placeholder, to be honest. If you've been around long enough for this past anniversary event, I would use Voice of the Prophets. That came from the Interceptor. That's actually a really, very decent heavy weapon, considering it's something they gave to you. If you're willing to put in some reputation work, the flat cannon in the competitive war games rep is actually really nice. So, you know, if you're not really wanting to spend a lot of money and you miss the anniversary event this year, go for the flat cannon out of competitive war games. That'll probably be your best bet without spending a whole lot of time and effort. Granted, it's going to take you some time to get the marks for competitive war games, but that's probably your best heavy weapon without trying to go into the C-store or a Lobby or Lockbox ship, to be honest.
Can agree with that. But anyways, looking at our final cost for the build, this is actually one of the cheaper builds that we've had. And everything, as far as time to produce and everything. Out of your 2 million EC, you're going to spend 1.5 million of that to pick up the Honored Dead trait. That is going to be very well worth it for you. You're also going to be looking at spending about, it was 47,500 dilithium total, so that is about 6 days of build time, assuming you only have 1 tune refining dilithium per day. So, considering what you're getting, not that bad of a deal, I don't think. And I also left a little bit of technical notes for you guys and everything. If you feel like you've got enough defensive value on the ship, you can make some different little changes. I noted a few things here for you guys that you can check out later. But anyways, that's what we have for the budget build this evening and whatnot. Hopefully you guys were able to get some useful information out of that and whatnot. But moving along to our final segment of the evening, we have the RP Corner with Artie. What do you got for us, dude?
But, okay.
Ah, hell.
Alright,
Here we go.
So a thought came across my mind that there are many different forms of RP fleets. Not everything's exactly the same. You know, you go into one fleet, you think you've seen them all. That's not entirely the case. Some of them are maybe less than 20 players, but maybe 30-some characters or something. Others are everyone is a captain, and maybe you got a few admirals here and there, and not many people are the ensigns, lieutenants, so on and so forth. And maybe the aspect of what the fleet's focus is for the roleplay is not maybe exploration, but maybe a more combat-oriented fleet. With this, I started thinking about, well, sometimes when you have everyone being a captain, everyone having their own ship, you kind of lose yourself in some of the RP. And whenever someone goes, all right, yeah, get your crew to go do that thing. All right, so they're just sending basically you, your character, and a bunch of NPCs to go do a thing. It gets kind of boring when you're RPing by yourself. So I thought, what if I could try to help explain how to downsize things, keeping everything concise, and also adding some real-world immersion into it a little bit, if people feel like it. So, here we go. The first thing I thought was start off with have a limit of what your rank, what the ranks would be. Maybe have only one captain and a couple commanders and so on and so forth. And everyone else be your ensigns, lieutenants, the junior grade, lieutenants, lieutenant commander, so on and so forth. Even the petty officers, if you wanted to go there, or their various ranks like the warrant officer and such like that. This, you get more of the intership roleplay where you have other people from other varying departments on a ship see each other more often than how it would be if you had it just one captain on one ship and one captain on another ship, and they may pass each other if they're on the same patrol route, if that's how they roleplayed. So you had a little bit more of a dynamic like you would see in, say, the show. Instead of just being the captain, you had the crew. But beyond that, I started thinking about what would happen to the RP fleet at that point when you downsize everything. Yeah, you might restrict the amount of captains and whatnot, but on the larger scale, what would be the fleet? Like, what ships would be available? What would work in a situation, say your fleet is now sectioned off and having to help out with the Cardassians only, or you're off helping the Romulan Republic and that's all you deal with? What ships would be the best thing to work with? What do you have available? So I kind of brought in a real-world aspect into it called fleet sizing. With this, depending on the rank of the fleet commanding officer, whoever is at the top of this squadron, would have the amount of whatever ships are under him. For starting off, say, a commander or a captain, as for rank, being the highest rank there is, they could probably have something, maybe, depending on their rank, captain or commander, have a galaxy or a sovereign or something about that size be the ship that they command with for the squadron, be the flagship, and maybe have a few escorts, a couple Defiant, a Saber maybe, and other support ships for who knows what. Maybe you have a Luna hanging out with you. Who knows? It depends on how the players want to play that. But to bring the real-world aspect to it, this would be what you would call the task element. It would just the one capital ship plus whatever escorts. So beyond that, to add more onto it anyway, for the larger fleets out there, the higher the rank, the more ships under the command of the in-game fleet per se. So as most people may understand, you know, higher the rank, you may double up the amount of ships. So going up from captain to be commodore or rear admiral, you'll just double what you already have, basically. And the cool thing about this is you don't actually have to fill it out. NPC ships work fine. You can cheat that way if you feel like it. However your RP fleet really wants to work with it. But that's something I was really thinking about with how the fleet commanding officer actually, it brings a very strong dynamic into how to actually operate the fleet. Now, out of character, the fleet commanding officer could be just any of the players, although it does really help if it is one of the officers or game masters that would be making the events, because then they have the already have all the notes with them, so they don't have to worry about having their character accidentally say something plot related that they weren't supposed to say anything yet. You don't have to worry about having to retcon anything. So have that little work with. This is also a good idea for maybe starting the fleet, RP fleets are just starting out. Maybe they're not, so they don't just jump in going, all right, so we got a fleet admiral at top. And who else do we have? Another admiral, another admiral, another admiral. Okay, we just got a bunch of admirals. What are we doing here? Sometimes it works. Other times it may just flop real quickly. So it's good to start out small. Have that high-ranking commander just be that high-ranking officer just be a captain. Who knows? Maybe it works out that way. But beyond that, this is not any perfect sense of how to perfectly set up a roleplay fleet, to be honest. The good thing about this is that there's no perfect way to do it. So you could totally have this any way you want it. So I've seen a group, actually I'm with this group, that have the highest ranking officer be a captain. And they run this task element with a sovereign, a one of the Mirandas that they have as escort, and a Defiant, and I believe a Daedalus class that they salvaged as basically all the ships in their fleet. Plus a couple of varying other ships like a Saber and another Defiant coming in and out every so often for NPCs. But that's how you would get a lot of players to start playing the smaller guys in the team. You don't have to worry about bringing in an NPC every time someone says, hey, talk to my science officer, and you don't have a player science officer. You know what I mean? So that's, although it's very convoluted how I've explained it, I'm sure, but it's there. I have this all in the notes. If you guys want me to post it up anywhere, it'll probably be at the end of on the YouTube at the end of the YouTube video when we put it out. So you can read it there if it makes it any easier reading it instead of me just rambling about it. So yeah, what do you think, guys?
Artie make brain hurty things.
And this is usually what I get when people don't RP.
No, I mean, it makes sense. I thought we were going to go in some dark area with RP, but I'm glad we didn't. Just saying.
Leave that on Rosanna, sir.
I'm just saying. There have been reports. No, it makes sense. I mean, you're basically making almost a real life hierarchy of as far as how a real military would be run to make it more efficient for your storyboarding, storytelling, that kind of thing. Which, I mean, that makes sense.
Right. Funny enough, I actually put in a example of what would happen if you had so many players, so many characters, and you were able to get to such a large hierarchy level. So, for example, say you have a high-end veteran kind of rear admiral character. Well, he would have obviously a whole lot more ships under his command. For how it's all sectored up, commander or captain would be running a task element, a commodore and lower rear admiral would be running a task unit, which would be 2 elements or more, and the veteran rear admiral or vice admiral whatnot be running the task group, which would be 2 units or more. Which, yes, math, it sucks, but in this sense, for players, if they ever got that large, you can have one player be the head of this entire task group. Then you can have other players be the commodores and other rear admirals running their units, and then they can have their captains running their elements. And it's just, there's so much dynamic that you can have. Maybe even an entire RP of everyone going to a captain's table and passing things along like you would see in some of the big meetings that you see in Star Trek, obviously. But it's very interesting how it would kind of breed out with how large the fleet is, because if you have a lot of captains that way, maybe you have also a lot of commanders under them, because that would also be how it would be on the ship. You would have the captain, then the executive officer, department heads, and then their teams under that. So who knows? It may just be as small as just the one ship, or maybe it'll be as large as you have the entire task group with a couple thousand people. Who knows? But I'm up for any of that, to be honest. As usual for my operations of what RP could be like, I'm actually curious what you guys would think about this. So in the comments on YouTube, go ahead and send me your thoughts about all this if you read it or you understood what my ramblings, and tell me what you think. Tell me what you feel like would be a better way of changing a certain aspect, or what would be easier to understand if it was said in a certain way. Go ahead and add that in. And we can have a good discussion about it. And who knows, maybe I can talk about it next week with the additions to what I've said this time.
Sounds like a pretty good thing. Yeah, you don't realize sometimes just how much actually goes into the backstory of this stuff. All the behind-the-scenes little things to make it that much better of an experience, I guess. And this touches base on that,
Yeah.
which I'm glad to see. But, anyways, folks, it's pretty much what we've got for a show this week and everything. Not really a lot on the bugs front and everything, whatnot, so not really a buggy corner this week. But anyways, folks, that's what we've got for a show this week and everything, whatnot. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves, whatnot, and found the information of use and whatnot. But like we said, there's going to continue to be some shakeups to the show as time goes on and everything. Please bear with us as we move to a new and hopefully a more streamlined format for you guys to make it a lot easier. If you guys have any requests for budget builds, feel free to let us know. We do take requests and whatnot. You know, just let us know, hey, this is the budget level I've got. Maybe it's more of a bare bones or a mid-range or even a higher end type of build. We'll try to hook you up with that. Just let us know what ship, what budget level, and what you're looking to do. Get a tank, a damage dealer, science, or whatever you want to do. If you think that you're shipping your gear in order, but maybe it's your piloting that needs a little bit of work, feel free to let us know on our website and everything, on YouTube and whatnot, that you know, somewhere or another, get us a video showing your piloting, and we'll be sure to review that and hopefully be able to give you some tips and tricks to improve. But as well, before we head out the door, a good shout out to our friends over at the Temporal Armada. Be sure to check out their radio program. Very cool bunch of people. Also be sure as well to check out our other good friends over at the Kurtang Pirate Radio. The party is there. They also have some pretty good music over there. But anyways, folks, that's what we've got for a show this week. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. And for now, folks, this is the Pilot Review Show reminding you to have your tribbles spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.